I'm gonna do a follow-up on this because I noticed like some of their family, friends, and other people, victims of this guy, are coming on here. So that I didn't want to read through the entire thing of this guy, but he's extraordinarily psychotic. He basically got a bunch of women to follow him in this cult. He's very much like Keith Raniere. But his style is like this runoff of those like gazers. There's like another gazer here on YouTube, and I bought his book like many years ago when I was studying these gurus and stuff. And when you read a book, it's totally different until you actually see the person, and then you see the person and they're literally on YouTube and they have these gazer clips and stuff. So this guy kind of took some of that too, right? And he started doing this thing where they all sit in a room and all these women like they want to be stared at, right? Like he's like the big rock star, right? He's like, just look at me, please look at me. And it was just so ridiculous that it was like, do you need to hear more about him? You know what I mean? Besides that. But anyway, people had like left where they lived, I guess, to go follow this guy. Unreal though. These some of these women are really beautiful, right? And you see this guy and you're like, why? Why? I don't get it. He's like a creepy ass monster. He looks like a sociopath. Like you don't need any more about it. He looks like a monster, the typical beast. And so they arrested him because the spirit told him that he needs to go have sex with a couple. I guess they were married or something in their cult. And I'm going off my head, guys. So from what I read of the story, and then yeah, so somebody made a comment about did the spirit like get him out on bail, like this bullshit, right? So yesterday it says the spiritual leader John de Ruiter granted bail on 4 sexual assault charges. Isn't it basically a human trafficking ring too, like still going on like that? Basically, the fundamental of that type of garbage, where it's like you need to have sex with me in my cult because the spirit told me whatever bullshit he thinks he is. Okay, so they granted him pretrial release to the messianic spiritual leader accused of sexually assaulting female followers. And I guess men too. It was really crazy. So they had this photo of women throwing themselves down at his feet. And I'm like, women, this is so degrading. Don't do this for any man ever. Oh my God. What are you doing? And like he's Jesus, right? They're like, oh, right down at his feet. But they said that men were doing it, and the thing is they all fall in love with them, right? The men too, right? And I was like, what the hell? So maybe the men in here are also victims, but they haven't, because of the culture, right? They haven't said anything. But let's see. So John de Ruiter appeared by CCTV from the Edmonton Centre Friday. Sorry, I'm not from there. For a bail hearing on 4 counts of sexual assault by a former member of his College of Integrate. I love this name though. College of Integrated Philosophy. Makes it sound like it's all like serious, like some fucking. Just throw the word college and integrated and philosophy, which is what I had in college, by the way. I didn't do that well, but philosophy. Okay, so dozens of De Ruyter's supporters packed the courtroom, some sitting practically on top of one another to fit in. Wait, to fit on the crowded benches? Oh, God. Why? Why, women? Why? You guys need to be heavily deprogrammed. De Ruyter, 63, and he's 63. Okay, is accused of sexually assaulting 4 females, followers between 2017 and 2020 under the guise of spiritual teaching. A former shoemaker from Saskatchewan, De Ruyter has been self-styled spiritual leader for 30 years. So he's been raping all the women probably for 30 years anyway. There's probably way more victims. I mean, we're talking 30 years. The guy's 63. Um, Operating out of his home base in Edmonton, something. Provincial Court Judge Randall Brandt granted release on the conditions De Ruyter provide a 30K cash deposit and stay away from the complainant, surrender his passport, and not have any unsupervised contact with women other than his wife, daughter, and a housemate. Like he's gonna be safe around like any woman. I would hate this guy to be my dad. You're not protecting the daughter from their psychotic father and his wife, who's obviously a victim in this too as well, but they're and a housemate. Who's the housemate? He's like, I get to rape my housemate at least. Evidence and arguments heard at the bail hearing are protected under a type of publication ban commonly granted to preserve the accused's fair trial rights. Edmonton defense lawyer Dino Bodos is representing de Ruiter, while Jennifer Danker appears for the Crown. De Ruiter found his college, quote unquote college, also known as the Oasis Group, in 2006. He holds weekly meetings in which he sits on a stage facing his audience, who signs up to speak with him in front of the group. Oftentimes, the hour-long meetings are silent. He doesn't say shit, dude, with de Ruiter quietly gazing at each person in the hall. Stab me, honey. Oh my god, I don't even talk about that, but I was like, it's a joke. Like, who the hell? No, for real, dude. Like, that part, I was like, I can't with that. That part, like, I would think at that point, um... A lengthy, frequently asked questions section on the organization's website addressed previous controversies about the group and dismisses claims it is a cult. Oh, really? Saying that there are no initiations, vows, or special clothing required to attend de Ruiter's meetings. The organization initially held its gathering at a $1.7 million headquarters at 109 Avenue and 177th Street, before moving to a nondescript office building in St. Albert in 2021. de Ruiter also hosts meetings at a campground near Hamlet of Smith, 200 km north of Edmonton, near Lesser Slave Lake. Yeah, the Slave Lake. Come take the slaves to the slave lake. That area is beautiful, though. Okay, so it says, in a news release announcing the arrest, Edmonton police and investigators believe there may be more complainants and ask them to come forward. But they're all in the middle of a brainwash right now. They're not going to be doing anything. The release said the complainants named in the current charges claimed de Ruiter told them a spirit directed him to engage in sexual activity with them, and that the sexual activity would provide them an opportunity to achieve a state of higher being or spiritual enlightenment. What's new under the sun? This is their typical tactics to get women, like, everywhere, in India to Australia. And he probably ripped off from the ones from India because, like, that's kind of their main gig, you know? Ladies and boys, little boys, to know the guru, you need to be alone with me for, the whole time. Okay, so it says more than 30 of the de Ruiter's followers attend the bail hearing, along with a smaller group of people supporting the complainants. De Ruiter himself watched the proceedings silently from a video conferencing cell at the Remand Center. Okay, wearing orange and black coveralls, his brow furrowed. His next appearance is set for February 24th. Outside court, Bodos said he was pleased with the result, adding it will be months or years before the matter ultimately goes to trial. Oh, yippee. Well, at least it'll give time, though, for these victims to kind of deprogram. Maybe some of them will be like, okay, we're going to come forward. This is a unique situation because the general allegations is these women were in fact consenting to sexual activity with him, but have now claimed years afterwards that their consent was really nullified or not valid because they were somehow placed under his spell. Those allegations will be hotly contested by my client, and as well as a good number of witnesses who know the other side of the story. The Crown and members of de Ruiter's family declined to comment. Okay, so it's basically an abuse of power situation, and they had sex with it. So this is no different than, like, say, a sex worker, right? In those cases where people try to, like, trivialize the whole thing. So if you go to a sex worker and you agree upon I'm like, how could I say it without being totally, you agree on an HJ, right? Okay, I was like, you agree on an HJ only, right? That's it. And all of a sudden you go into a situation and then the guy like totally full blown rapes you, right? Okay, so it's rape. Because just because you agree to the one thing doesn't mean you agree to the other, right? Or the situation where they agree to have sex for a XYZ amount of money, right? And then you do it and then they don't pay you, right? So then therefore the consent was only on these things. It's all a matter of consent, right? So here is a thing where they're taking advantage. So they're taking advantage of their leadership, right? And they believe in him as a spiritual leader. And so they said a spirit told him that in order to have you have sex with him, because you'll come to, whatever bullshit XYZ, right? So the consent is only on the basis of that. And otherwise outside that they would have never done it, right? So he manipulated and took advantage of them in a situation like that. It's no different than a priest doing it, to little kids or other adults saying God told us that we need to be together and abuse their position of power and harm and rape them, right? And using it, the religious thing in order to do it, right? They manipulate them using the religion to do it, right? That kind of thing. So, yes, so he took advantage of them, raped them, and there was no spirit that frickin' told him to do that. And this is where government used to be like, freedom of religion. So if they believe it, they can human traffic women. What? What's wrong with that? But, yeah, that thing right there. So, no, this is horrifying because obviously there's family and friends of the people that are victims that are still like in the cult that are trying to get him out, and they're trying to talk reason to him, like, I understand, but you're not who you say you are. There was like a whole write-up on this guy, and I was like, I can't read all that. It'd be for hours because I'm gonna make comments on each of those things. But yeah, I put the links in that description. But yesterday, I guess they let him have a bail thing to get out, until their court hearing. Which, so some more stuff will come out maybe in February, at the end of February, and hopefully more victims come out. You guys need to get away from this crap. Women, stop submitting to men. What the hell are you doing? And the men up in here, what the hell? Well, the men up in here is like, I'm in love with this guy. Throwing him down. I was like, you guys need to get the hell out of this cult bubble here that's going on, because this one's pretty whack. It's even, I think it's like worse than Keith Raniere, because at least Keith Raniere was running off of the LOA bullshit where it like seems like it's possible, but he standing there just staring at everybody. He's just like, I really have nothing to say, ladies. I'm just gonna stare at you guys like a total creepster. And you guys just hope that I look at you at some point, and then that means that you're special, right, ladies and gents? Yeah, what the hell?